Hello, everybody, and welcome here to the Wine with Jimmy channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. And I'm going to be looking here in this video at understanding the Wine and Spirit Education Trust Level 2. That's WSET Level 2. So in this video, I will be looking at how grapes are grown, and then why certain vineyard conditions will have an important effect on the style and quality of wine. So in order to do that, I will be looking at the annual growth cycle of the vine, how the grapes ripen, and then factors such as climate, weather, and then also vineyard will influence the grapes that have eventually will become wine. Now, this is very important for level 2. It's important in your understanding in terms of why wines in different places can, of course, taste quite different. So let's go into our first slide, looking here at what we call the annual vine cycle. Now, the vine will follow the same annual cycle every year. In spring, the vine will come out of its winter dormancy. And that's what we call budburst. So it starts to grow and you start to see these little buds forming. You'll see that on the top left-hand corner of your flow chart. Then, if it's successful through spring, new shoots and leaves will grow fairly rapidly. Then we'll have something called flowering. The vine is asexual. It actually pollinates itself. And then when flowering happens successfully, you will get what's called fruit set. You will see flowering to fruit set on the top of your slide there, the middle top to the top right-hand corner. Now, during summer, the grapes will grow and eventually enter something called Véraison. Now, I'm going to talk about Véraison a little bit later, so we'll see this word. It's a French word, V-E-R-A-I-S-O-N, Véraison. And this means color change, and this marks the beginning of ripening. Then in autumn, the grapes ripen fully and then are harvested. Now, we say they ripen fully. We hope they ripen fully. You'll see that in the bottom middle picture on your slide. Then, of course, the vine begins to go into its dormancy again in winter, and the cycle will be repeated. But during winter, the vine is dormant, and at every stage, weather conditions can affect the size and quality of crop, as can human decisions as well. We're actually going to talk about in this bit, though, all around the natural factors that affect the vine. So everything around sunlight, rainfall, weather patterns, and so on. So like all plants, vines will need multiple things in order to survive and thrive properly. So this is the likes that you'll see on your slide just here. So let's go through that. Sunlight and warmth. Water, that's what you're actually seeing there in the symbol with the rain. Nutrients, so we'll see that to the bottom right hand corner. And then carbon dioxide. Now, all of this is because we want to enable a process which is called photosynthesis. And the leaves will use the sunlight, converting water and carbon dioxide, so more complex molecules found within those, into sugars such as glucose. And that's what we call photosynthesis. I'm going to write that at the top of your screen just here. Here you go. A word that you hopefully would recognize, certainly from biology back at school. Now, those sugars that are produced by the action of photosynthesis are very important because they accumulate in the grapes during ripening and later become alcohol during the act of fermentation. Now, if the vine does not receive enough sunlight or warmth, ripening may be incomplete and grapes will not develop correctly in terms of things like flavour and tannin, and it may lead to poor quality wine. Now, in order to understand, we need to go on now and talk about the major parts of a grape. Here you will see a grape on the left-hand side in its whole entirety, and then a split cross-section on the right-hand side. Now, different parts of the grape contribute to different things in the wine. The pulp, which is what you are pointing to there at the bottom, which is really the mass and fleshiness of the grape, will contain water, sugar, and acids, also a bit of flavour. Now, the skins, you'll see this with your top arrow there, contains colour, potentially, tannins, and many flavour compounds. Then in the middle part of the grape is often a small or slightly larger collection of seeds or pips. And the seeds or pips, also the stems which are attached from the grape to the vine, contains the likes of tannin. But if they are not handled correctly in terms of ripening, that's both the grape and the stem, this can create bitterness, astringency, and underripeness. Now, one important point for the WSET Level 2 is that the juice inside almost all different types of grape varieties in the world are pale, leading to clear or very clear juice. Now, this means that black grapes can still be used to make white wine if the skins are removed quickly. And the most common examples of this, of course, are the likes of the famed sparkling product of champagne, where Pinot Noir is in fact the most commonly used grape. Pinot Noir has black skins. It typically produces red still wine, but it can be the base wine with no skin contact to make champagne and other sparkling wines. Let's talk about flowering. Now, in spring, as we mentioned, after budburst, flowers will begin to appear on the vine. Now, we're not talking about dramatic honeysuckles and irises and bluebells and lots of beautiful colours that would be very much famed in somewhere like the Chelsea Garden Show. No, they're not the most impressive of blooms. They can have aroma, but certainly not as strong as many plants. You might have to get your nose right into the flower. But that's because they're not trying to actually attract insects. In fact, they are self-pollinating. They only need a gentle, very gentle breeze to pollinate. And that's because each flower has the potential to become a grape if that self-pollination is successful. So if it is successful, it leads to something called fruit set. And fruit set occurs, hopefully, successfully, and tiny green grapes begin to form. Now, this is rather a tricky and vulnerable stage for the grapevine. If there is cold, wet, or windy weather during flowering, then this can actually reduce the successfulness of pollination, which can actually significantly lower the yields. But let's assume that it's successful and we get that fruit set and we begin to ripen a little bit more. The grapes will start to look a little bit more like a grape instead of a green pea. And then we get this very distinctive part in the change of the cycle. And this is something we call Véraison. I spelt this out for you earlier in the presentation. This marks the beginning of ripening sugars and other compounds in the grape. At this stage, grapes soften, sugar levels increase, and acid levels decrease, and that's due to that colour change. White grapes will often be green and turn to golden, and black grapes will start green but then turn into something like black, blue, red, or purple. Now, as the ripening continues after Véraison, flavours will become more developed. Tannins will soften, and grapes become more suitable, of course, for harvesting and then producing into wine. Climate will have a significant factor here in the successful nature of what I just mentioned. Cool climates tend to preserve, maintain acidities, whilst warm climates will tend to produce riper fruit with higher sugar levels, often higher acid level, less acid levels, reduced. We then move, of course, to the harvest. I'll go through this actually on another one of the presentations. But let's get into the climate categories. Now, in wine, climates are often divided into a number of categories. For the WSET Level 3, we are going to be talking about three, that is cool, moderate, and warm categories. You'll see here the numbers that we have given you on your slide below those words are the ranges that we are looking at in both Celsius and Fahrenheit to be destined to be called a cool, moderate, or warm climate. Now, these are growing season average temperatures. So below 16.5 degrees Celsius, that's below 62 Fahrenheit, would be classed as a cool climate. Between 16.5 and 18.5, or 62 to 65, this would be considered moderate. Then on the right-hand side, 18.5 to 21 degrees Celsius, or 65 to 70 Fahrenheit, would be considered warm. So this is dictated by the average temperatures during the growing season. So climate is what you can expect on average in a particular area or region over a long period of time. This is certainly one of the most important factors when deciding where a vineyard can be established, planted successfully. So let's talk about cool climates. On the left-hand side of your screen, you'll see how the factors of a cool climate will lead to style difference in the wine. So we know in a cold climate there'll be less warmth and typically less sunlight. As a result, grapes will be less ripe and the wines will often be higher in acidity, lighter in body, lower alcohol due to less sugars, and they tend to be more fruity, fresh wines, and they're typically you'll find whites being produced in these areas, but of course not exclusively. Next, we'll talk about warmer climates. Now, in warmer climates, grapes will receive more sunlight and warmth, and this will lead to riper fruit, and then wines that are often higher in alcohol due to the higher sugar in the grapes, more body in the wine, lower acidities, riper, juicier, often jammier fruits, and then often more tannin. Both red and white wines will be found in these warm climates. Temperature is one of the factors that dictates where grapes certainly will be found. So, for example, Riesling likes cold conditions and therefore will find it in places like Germany and Alsace in France. Cabernet Sauvignon prefers more moderate to warm conditions, so often will be found in places like Bordeaux, for example, Mediterranean areas, Australia, Argentina, Napa, California, for example.